big shit. So I'm Alexander Arsuria Jenny, 7:49 a.m., August 31st. Mole in the right hand, penguin duck birthmark. If you don't see long black hair and a man bun, an eyebrow ring, black mustache, black lower lip hair, black chin hair, you ain't seen Alexander Surya Jayani, and you're looking at manufactured screen surveillance. This is YouTube. My Peace Justice Unity YouTube. Alex Jayani 7611 at. So, key point. They run some scenarios or something. I'll sometimes hear them via telepathy, and I can barely make them out sometimes, so I just ignore them a lot of the time. They're very they control what I hear and don't hear, especially when they have an agenda. Sometimes they'll try to run a scenario to try to steal property or to cultivate animosity. So they'll purposely let me hear something, but I can't even make it out. They'll fire an image and I can barely make it out. They have ways to disrupt what I see and don't see, and in the mind's eye. And then they'll run some scenario and they'll be like, he did nothing. Or they'll try to run some scenario when I'm like having man time or trying to sleep. And they'll be like, he did nothing. And I won't even hear it. And it's really just some animosity cultivation tactic or some sort of tactic to sell some lie or some perception manufacturing tactic to discredit me. Like, for instance, they were, I guess, when I made the Good Samaritan, they were trying to steal the idea. So they made up these scenarios, is my theory, that I'm not even aware of, wasn't even around, couldn't even hear. And maybe they ran these scenarios where I was supposed to help and be a good Samaritan. And then they sold some lie that I didn't, but I wasn't even aware of them. So then they could then justify theft of my Good Samaritan idea. So don't fall for that shit. And then they may even have another hustle where they pretend I'm seeing these scenarios on a computer or something using an imaging hustle, and it's someone else answering these scenarios as if they're me, but it's not even me. So that may be another hustle. I don't know what other tactics they have, but all their scenarios are about perception manufacturing, slandering me, animosity, cultivation, and more. I'm never present for these scenarios, and sometimes I'll hear stuff via telepathy, and sometimes I'll fire images that I can sometimes make out, sometimes can't. So I typically just ignore them, especially when it seems like a scenario. Because another piece of it, it's also they're trying to play a game of chess and trying to pull information from me so they can try to read me like in a game of poker, which is another piece of this, which makes me feel like they have clearly hidden agendas, which makes me not trust them. So sometimes I ignore those scenarios as well. Granted, I can barely make them out because I can't hear the telepathy a lot of the time. Uh, So, yeah, I can't even make out their scenarios. So don't fall for their good Samaritan hustles or any of their hustles or their impersonation hustles in scenarios where they answer stuff and it's not even me. Because I got a lot of tactics like game of chess tactics, perception manufacturing tactics, animosity cultivation tactics. So never fall for it. And if they have an agenda, they're gonna run a scenario. I won't be aware of it. They'll sell an idea of trying to make me aware of it with maybe letting me hear a little bit of telepathy, but not everything. They'll pretend they'll fire an image and I can't even make it out. And also remember with the images, what they send from a computer when it hits the satellite or the neural implant that I then see in the mind's eye even appears differently. So I don't even know who it is half the time or even understand it. So that's a key point. But this has gone on for 5 years and 6 months. I mean, how are these guys not in prison? I put together whatever I felt was most pertinent, what's necessary. I wrote to law enforcement. I wrote 3 DOJ letters about terrorism. They need to figure it out and get to the bottom of it because this is their game of bullshit and them buying time is ridiculous. And they're just using scenarios and trying to extend this and prolong this to avoid prison, as well as just to get away with theft of as much property as much ideas and property as possible and money. So enough of this nonsense. While slowly murdering me and killing me with their technology and damage my brain and stopping me from reading and learning as they just bother me all day for 5 years and 6 months, 12 to 17 hours a day. Right now it's quiet. It's gotten quieter recently, but they'll still be periods and stuff because they're bothering me like crazy yesterday.